DAC 2 by MMP. We've made it to November 1st of the full campaign, and the Italian army in Egypt is destroyed, evaporated. Just happened in the last few turns of September, but the Italians had to push very hard to take city Barini. The British put up a pretty staunch defense, lost a few units, but nothing too serious actually, and made the Italians really work hard for that, as opposed to just retreating in and letting them take it. And that forced the Italians to put a few more units even than the Mussolini requirements into that area, which then got cut off and out of supply, and for the most part failed breakout. There's a handful, 2 or 3 Italian units that broke out successfully and will be coming back in the future turns, but the dead pile has a good 10-20 Italian units in it. And the British have started putting pressure on Salome and running into, is it Sardinia? I don't know, this area of the map. I want to use the forces here, which is the 7th Armored with their truck, to knock out these 2 areas, which are places where native tribesmen will form a unit if a British person comes in here. I'd also maybe get adjacent to Benghazi here to starve out these troops and destroy this port. I won't be able to use it as the British as long as Tobruk is access controlled, but it would be kind of good to maybe get rid of this before any more Italian reinforcements can get into it. As you can see, it's pretty lightly defended with artillery, and there's a few territorial and other crappy units here, nothing really good. The Italians have put everything they can into Tobruk, and a few good units into Bardia here. If you remember in DAC 2, these 2 T ports will act as a supply source, Bardia, Tobruk, and Solom, as long as there's not an enemy unit adjacent. It doesn't matter if the zone of control is negated or not, an adjacent enemy unit will shut down the port for trace supply. So the Italians have put pretty strong forces defending those hexes adjacent to the port. Bardia is a little less. Tobruk has actually 2 layers. The outer layer has map printed hedgehogs. The inner layer, the Italian built hedgehogs for it, and there's quite a lot here. Not a lot of high AR units, but a lot of steps and enough AR3 units that getting through this is, with the hedgehogs and everything, it's fairly costly. It's an attritional battle, and I made this mistake when I played this campaign before, kind of starting that attritional battle too early and running out of steps as the British to really be able to force my way through. So I'm definitely going to hold off. It's only November. I don't think Compass even started until December historically. So I'm going to build up supply, build up units, see what's coming on my reinforcement schedule, see who gets released, and have a sort of better, more planned, more coordinated push to take Tobruk. I'm not sure, haven't decided if I want to bypass Bardia entirely or kind of reduce this before I get to Tobruk. Tobruk's the real thing I need to get. I really want to get that before the Germans come and make it hard for me to take. I want to do that as the Allies. And I don't really need Bardia to do that. I have this port, which gets me 2T of supply every turn, close enough to Tobruk, and plus there's trucks and things. And there's really not enough here to threaten cutting off my supply. If I have just a few units, maybe some mobile tank units with a leader on it to react, and maybe a unit to block the main route out. I don't think the Italians are going to be able to effectively cut off the supply. They would have to cut off this road and this road to block my trace to the Tobruk area. And as the Italians, we're just going to hold tight. We've gotten quite a bit of supply in Tobruk. Each white cube is 1 SP, so that's 5, 6 SP. The red ones are 1 token. There's 4 and 1 in Bardia. I'm going to be using my max shipment to keep pumping supply in here, to be able to fuel all this artillery, and if I do get cut off, to eat off the map for as long as possible here in Bardia. In Tobruk. And I will make an effort and make it costly for the Commonwealth to take Bardia, but ultimately I kind of expect to lose that. And I'll put much more effort into Tobruk, because if I can keep Tobruk, it's pretty awesome. Unfortunately, the British Air Force got pretty beat up. I think they have only a half step of a bomber left. But if I do get any more bombers, we will be trying to bomb the crap out of this port of Tobruk to prevent the Axis from supplying it, or especially bringing in, well, we'll never be able to stop them from bringing in new units, but to slow it down a little bit. The one event that has happened so far in this game was a shore bombardment, and they used that against Tobruk, and was successfully in damaging the port, but the Germans were able to fix it relatively quickly, and it didn't really impact them other than burning the supply point. Other than that, I think the next month is going to be pretty slow. Both sides building up, don't want to risk exposing themselves, extending themselves. Yep. See you in a month.
2.5 year later, Norm. Second take. Pro tip, if you don't plug in the mic that you're talking into, it doesn't actually record any sound into your video. So I did play a fair bit more of this campaign, although none of it on video. I tried to enact the plan, build up forces, but older me wasn't very patient, and I gambled too early on early attack on Tobruk to punch through, and lost some units. And then the Greek War started, and/or Churchill started shipping my units all over the Middle East, and I just didn't have the manpower to bust through the Italian defenses that I had created. So I decided to take Bardia to free up those screening forces to make another second assault onto Tobruk. And I did get Bardia, but I lost some units, or I can't quite remember. They got shipped off to Syria or wherever. And I was never able to take Tobruk before the Germans started showing up. And shortly thereafter, I can't quite remember exactly when or how, but I definitely have gamer ADD, and I got interested in some other game or another project, and deck sat on the table collecting dust for a couple months till I finally admitted that I wasn't going to get back to it and packed it up. Since then, I've played here and there on Vassal, and I am going to set up another campaign on the table, because Vassal's all right, but I really just like pushing cardboard around, and hope to get a better, fuller campaign recorded. Talk to you later, next video.